The Magnetic Death. On July 17, 2025, 61-year-old Keith McAllister checked into a medical center in Westbury, New York. He had an appointment for a simple MRI. These machines are common, giant tubes that let doctors see inside the body. But what most people don't realize is that an MRI isn't just a camera. It's one of the most powerful magnets on Earth, strong enough to rip metal across a room at 100 miles per hour. That's why every patient is told, no metal ever, no keys, no coins, no jewelry. But the staff forgot to remind McAllister to remove his heavy chain necklace. The moment he stepped into the chamber, the invisible force of the magnet grabbed it. He was yanked forward by a powerful magnetic pull, slamming him against the MRI machine. The chain tightened around his neck as the machine dragged him in with terrifying speed. Staff rushed to shut everything down, but the damage was already done. Keith collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital, clinging to life, but by the next day, he was gone. The bee sting tragedy. On June 12, 2025, during the Queen's Cup polo match in Windsor, England, 53-year-old Sanjay Kapoor, an Indian billionaire and close friend of Prince William, was out on the field doing what he loved most, playing in a polo match. But that afternoon, something completely unexpected happened. In the middle of play, a bee buzzed right into his face. Instinctively, he took a breath and accidentally swallowed it. Inside his throat, the tiny insect stung. At first, he just coughed and brushed it off. But seconds later, things took a terrifying turn. Kapoor began gasping for air as his throat started to close. His teammates rushed to help, shouting for medics. The bee's sting had triggered a severe allergic reaction, anaphylaxis. Paramedics arrived and did everything they could, but within minutes, it was too late. What began as a sunny afternoon of sport ended in an unimaginable tragedy. Online challenge gone wrong. On February 14, 2025, Davi Nunes Moreira, a 14-year-old boy from Brazil, took part in an online challenge that ended in tragedy. He attempted to complete the challenge by injecting a mixture of water and the remains of a dead butterfly into his leg. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but later that day, Davy began vomiting and developed a limp. He was taken to a hospital in Planalto, where he initially told doctors and his father that he had injured himself while playing. As his condition worsened, he eventually admitted that he had injected the butterfly mixture into his right leg. He was then transferred to another hospital in Vitória da Conquista, the third largest city in the state of Bahia. Despite receiving medical treatment, Davi sadly passed away. Afterward, his father found the syringe hidden under the boy's pillow, a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers of online challenges. The self-driving car tragedy. On March 18, 2018, 49-year-old Elaine Herzberg was crossing a road in Tempe, Arizona. It was a quiet night, until something unimaginable happened. As she stepped onto the street, a self-driving Uber car came speeding toward her. There was a backup driver inside, but the car was in autonomous mode. It was driving itself. The sensors failed to detect Elaine in time, and the car hit her. She was rushed to the hospital, but sadly, she didn't survive. Elaine became the first person in history to die after being hit by a self-driving car on public roads. The tragedy shook the tech world, forcing Uber to suspend all self-driving car tests across the United States, and raising serious questions about how safe self-driving technology really is. Swallowed by a python. In March 2017, 25-year-old Akbar Salubiro from West Sulawesi, Indonesia, went missing after heading out to harvest palm oil near his village. When he didn't return home, neighbors went searching, and what they found shocked the world. Near Akbar's garden, they discovered a massive 23-foot reticulated python with a swollen belly. Villagers noticed the shape inside looked disturbingly human. When they cut the snake open, they found Akbar's body, completely swallowed whole. It was the first confirmed case of a python swallowing an adult human. The story spread across the globe, showing just how terrifying and powerful nature can truly be. The water slide that shouldn't have existed. On August 7, 2016, 10-year-old Caleb Schwab spent the day at Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City with his family. It was supposed to be a fun summer outing, and Caleb was excited. He was about to ride Verrückt, the world's tallest water slide, standing 168 feet high, even taller than Niagara Falls. The ride was advertised as record-breaking. A jaw-dropping thrill where riders would drop at over 60 miles per hour, then surge back up a second hill before splashing down. But behind the scenes, not everything was as safe as it seemed. Engineers and inspectors had already raised serious concerns, warning that the slide hadn't been properly tested and might not meet basic safety standards. Still, the ride stayed open. Caleb climbed to the top with 2 adult riders, sat in his raft, and waited for the gates to open. Moments later, they were off. The raft shot down the first drop at incredible speed, but as it hit the second hill, something went terribly wrong. The raft went airborne, lifting off the track. Caleb was thrown from his seat and struck the metal safety netting above the slide. The impact was instant and fatal. The park shut down Verrückt immediately. Investigations later revealed that the slide had ignored standard engineering principles, built more on guesswork than real testing. The designers and park owners faced criminal charges, and the massive slide was eventually demolished for good. Death by grass. On November 21st, 2016, something really strange happened in Melbourne, Australia. People started getting sick from the air itself. That day, a huge storm rolled through the city, with winds over 60 kilometers per hour. At first, it just seemed like a regular thunderstorm. But as it swept across fields of ryegrass outside Melbourne, those strong winds picked up tons of pollen and carried it into the city. Then, the rain hit. The moisture caused the pollen grains to burst into tiny invisible pieces, small enough to go deep into people's lungs. Within minutes, hundreds of people started struggling to breathe. Asthma sufferers were hit the hardest. Hospitals were flooded with patients gasping for air, and emergency lines were overwhelmed. Paramedics rushed across the city, but it all happened too fast. By the end of the night, 10 people had died, all because of grass pollen. It was later called thunderstorm asthma, one of the weirdest and deadliest natural events in Australia's history, the hickey that turned deadly. In August 2016, 17-year-old Julio Macias Gonzalez from Mexico City was spending a normal day with his girlfriend. Things got a little romantic, and she gave him a hickey on his neck, a small love bite most people never think twice about. But what many don't realize is that a hickey in the wrong spot can actually be dangerous. Still, like most teens, Julio didn't think much of it. That evening, while having dinner with his family, things took a sudden, terrifying turn. Julio started convulsing at the table, his body shaking uncontrollably. His parents panicked and called for help, but by the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Doctors were stunned. That tiny mark of affection had caused a blood clot to form in his neck. The clot traveled straight to his brain, triggering a fatal stroke.